March 2023 mortgage update. What's happening with mortgage interest rates? This is the number one question that I get with every single meeting I have with either a buyer or a seller. Obviously, buyers want to know what's going on with interest rates because it impacts their payments, but sellers want to know what's going on with interest rates because it helps them understand the moving process and what that payment's going to look like on the next home as well, plus just an overall feeling for the economics behind interest rates. It is the question that most people have right now. Here's the challenge, is there's a lot of misinformation about the interest rates and also what it means to you as a consumer if you're thinking about making a move in real estate. So here's the deal. If you're watching this video, you're thinking about making a move, listen closely because I'm gonna give you what's happening with interest rates right now. Number two is forecast. Where might they be headed to the best of our abilities? Three is the quick history of real estate interest rates, mortgage interest rates, so that you know where they were. And then finally, a strategy. If you're looking to buy a home, what does that look like? How can you take this information and go out there and win as a home buyer in this market? And I'll give you a quick summary about what's going to happen in real estate in 2023. Hi, Kevin Yoder, team leader of Yoder Real Estate, bringing to you valuable information about all things real estate and living and working in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area that you cannot find anywhere else. And if you like this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to it so that you can see more content just like this. Okay, mortgage interest rates. Grand Rapids, Michigan, here's what you need to know about interest rates in 2023. Where are we at today? A quick Google search, just Google mortgage interest rates today, and you're gonna land on somewhere between 6.5% and as high as 7, but right around that 6.9. And it depends on your credit score, so that's something that you should understand. You can Google it or go to bankrate.com. I am not affiliated with the company. That's just a good resource, a quick search there, or you can Google it. There's actually a tool right on Google, mortgage interest rates today, and that's what you'll find. So right around that 6.5 mark, if you have good credit, at 6.5%. So that's where they are today. Let's go back in time for a minute. And I know I told you I'd give you the forecast, but I'd rather take you back in time first because this is going to give you the needed perspective you need. And the reason why this is so important is because there's such misinformation. People are saying that the interest rates are bad. Well, first and foremost, it's neither good nor bad. It's your thinking that makes it so. So they're either higher than they were before or lower than before. And so let me give you the truth. I went back 40 years and just did a study. It took me about an hour and a half. And what I figured out is that the average interest rate for the last 40 years is what? 6.92%. What are they today? 6.9%. So what this is revealing is that when you take a snapshot of the 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2020s, each one of those years had a midpoint. In other words, 1970s started off at a certain interest rate and then they ended here, whatever that was. I took the middle point and then applied it to that year. And then at the very end, I added all that up and divided it by the number of decades over the last 40 years. So now that we understand that interest rates are no more higher than they were for the average, then as a home buyer, you can go out there with confidence and know that you're not spending more than what your mother and father and perhaps your grandparents did. It's an okay place to be. And if you were to go back in time, let's just do this for a quick second. Take this back to the end of 2020 and the end of 2021, when interest rates were at their very lowest, at the high twos. Super low interest rate, cheap money. We called it free money at the time. What else was going on at that time? See, this is perspective time for a minute. This 5 minutes is going to be perspective. What else was happening? Where offers were being put on homes in multiple offer situations every single time. A home that was listed for 300 would get bid up to 350 and sometimes over 4. So buyers were then spending more on the house, and so their payment would be escalated by virtue of that higher mortgage. Now, interest rates are obviously they're higher than they were then, but the home prices have leveled off and now they're going to be going up slow and steady. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So perspective is super helpful. So what's happening with the forecast of mortgage interest rates? Due to the volatility of the bond market, essentially that's what's going on here. There's just such volatility. And so from one day to the next, the interest rates are jumping. And there's not one expert on the planet that can nail this one. They're really waiting for the next Fed meeting in order to really get a better, clear picture. So the job market's impacting it, the bond market volatility. And so no one really knows what's going to happen. We're settling in at that high sixes right now. Could they go higher? Perhaps. Unlikely they'll shoot way up. Here's the thing, just do your research and stay in touch with the real estate professional or a mortgage professional that can keep your finger on the pulse of that. And that way you're in the know and you can make a decision. It really comes down to affordability. When you plug that into the mortgage calculator, go to mortgagecalculator.org and see what that payment looks like. Make sure you add your taxes estimated for the area. You can look that up online, and your insurance estimated for that area. And if you're paying PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, you got to plug that number in. That means your paying less than a 20% down payment. Get your payment accurate, and then you can mess with that interest rate and see what that looks like, or just reach out to a local lender that you know, like, and trust. If you do not have one, I have a couple that I can refer to you. Happy to do that. And so let's talk about the strategy. What strategies can you have as a home buyer this year that are going to help you win more than anything else? Number one is get your pre-approval early. A lot of buyers make the mistake of waiting. They want to go out and look at homes. It's the funnest part. We get it. Go out there and get behind the wheel and start looking at properties. Two things come to mind. Number one is you haven't done your due diligence yet of your own credit history. Just take the time and do it. You can get a pre-approval letter within an hour. And so you're going to serve yourself and you're going to serve the process, because if you walk in the door and you love a home, you got to have your letter in hand, because you can't write an offer without the pre-approval letter. So you're just being smart and proactive by doing so. And so many don't want to do that. For some reason, they want to put that later because it's not as fun as looking at homes. Secondly, think about this. You're somebody that doesn't have a pre-approval letter yet, but you're asking a seller to open their door to you. It's their home. It's fair to ask that you would put first things first. So get your finances in order, have your credit checked, rather run the debt to income ratio, and find out what you can afford, and make sure you have that letter in your hand, because if it's a home that you love and it checks all the boxes, it's go time, as we say, and you can't dink around with getting your pre-approval letter after the fact, because there might be multiple offers on that property. Okay, I get off my soapbox. Do that first. Secondly, if you're working with a mortgage broker instead of a mortgage lender, brokers can change rates. In other words, if you lock in and let's say you're locked in at 7% and rates go down, if you're with a bank, it's highly unlikely that they can change that. That's your locked rate. Once you get an offer accepted, you're locked in. Brokers have the flexibility to actually change lenders. So they could actually unlock that and then go shop another lender and get that new lower rate. Something to keep in mind, and it's usually not discussed, or many buyers don't understand about that rate lock situation. You don't lock your rate until you have your home under contract. What's happening with real estate this year? So I gave you the breakdown of mortgages, where they are now, where they were before, a perspective on the fact that we're pretty much where we are in a 40-year history. Hold on to that number. It's important to understand that so you're making good decisions. And then also two strategies for winning. Real estate 2023, to the best of our abilities, and I study this each and every week, is we peaked out top values in right around this time last year, maybe into May. So a couple months from now was peak real estate pricing, and then the market shifted. So all of that run up for a year and a half, all the way up to the top, and then it started to come back down. We lost more values in a shorter period of time than any time in the history of real estate. So what does it look like now? Is the sky falling? Absolutely not. Is the real estate market crashing? It's not. It just reset. That was too much. Too short, too fast, too much. So now what does a real estate market do when we're still in an improving condition, which we are? We're still in a seller's market, which means there's not a lot of homes on the market, so demand is up. What it means is that home prices will elevate slow and steady. Slow and steady wins the race. What's slow and steady? 3 to 5% a year versus what? Versus 15 and 20%. This will allow for greater movement for sellers selling and buying. There should be more movement in those areas where sellers were unable to do that last year. There should be a little more flexibility there. Interest rates are higher, but there should be a little more freedom in terms of being able to sell and move around. It's not that crazy as it was for the last 2 years. So there's your real estate update. If you want to know more about how to navigate in this new market of 2023, keep your finger on the pulse of the market. Come back here often. We appreciate you coming to this channel, and I hope that I'm bringing the realness back to real estate for you. If you would like to reach out to us at Yoder Real Estate, the best way to do that is to go right online, yoderrealestate.com, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.